Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that is Stephen Howson, and today we're going to be talking about tactics, and specifically, maybe not different tactics, but how Manchester United's tactics have looked different in this pre-season tour, because inarguably, United have looked a little bit better, Steve. Even you would admit that.
I'm not sure the tactics look different.
Well, that's what I want to get into. So whether it's the tactics, and we're going to go through certain positions that I think have stood out and have looked noticeably different, we'll work out, do they look different because they're being played differently, because they're being told and taught differently, or because we're just actually getting them done properly? So let's start with a sort of a general overview. You mentioned there that you're not sure the tactics are any different. Why do you think, just generally speaking, it's looking different then?
Execution.
Okay.
I think there's been movement ahead of and around the ball. I think we look physically sharper than we did for like the last 4 months of the season, where honestly we look like I feel.
Yeah. Tired.
Yeah, we've flown today on no sleep, so Steve has a tired little bunny. I think we've looked better.
Mm-hmm.
I think the players' understanding of it maybe has improved through force or pre-season or whatever. I think even though we've not seen a ton of new signings, there has been a freshening up element of it, particularly with some of the youngsters that are coming in and Cunha coming in. But also I think, when you look at the injuries that we've currently got dealing with, who's missing really? Martinez, who didn't really feature last season, Mazraoui, who did feature a lot last season, and Onana. But Xerxes didn't really feature tons, did he? If we be honest with ourselves.
No, not by the end.
So I think it's just a case of it's being executed better than it was. For whatever the reason is for that, whether it was because there was multiple games per week, maybe because the players were not fresh when they were trying to execute it, and was up against opposition who were more fresh than us. But yeah, we absolutely look good. I just don't think that there's been any significant changes. I just think structurally off the ball, it looks drilled. Mm-hmm. Like the lines look drilled. The players look more confident in what they're trying to execute. And then with the ball, there's perhaps a little bit more flair, and maybe a little bit more freedom, and that comes from maybe the understanding a little bit better of what they're supposed to do. And that I think the parameters and understanding of the parameters does allow for freedom
with certain positions. And so obviously in the game in Chicago, Dorgu was, I think, for me, unquestionably man of the match, just in terms of output. But not just that, he was on the ball all the time. It felt like every time you look at the pitch, he's either just passed it to someone, he's making a run to receive it, or he's, doing something else. These fullback and wingback positions, as United fans, we're not used to seeing these. We've never really seen these, other than the odd game here or there down the years. Are we starting to see what that's supposed to look like? Players and basically wingbacks not running the game, but being like main characters in this team. Because in the past, fullbacks are, they do a bit and they get forward and they do a bit of an overlapping run. But it's now it's almost like they are the sort of focal point of how we build up at the minute.
I wouldn't say it's a uniquely Amorim or Manchester United thing. I think fullbacks have become increasingly the available person in possession for maybe like 10 years, actually. Like, I think the fullback has been the guy that you end up with. You don't necessarily want to just hold possession with your centre half in a system that's being pressed, which is increasingly the case in modern football, where players are pressed all over the pitch. Like, it's the rarity now of a mid block and a low block. Teams are increasingly trying to win the ball back high, and I think last season in the Premier League we saw that more than ever before. Actually, teams were being adventurous with the pressing, because winning the ball up in that final third gives you a goal-scoring opportunity, and that's what wins games. So the errors with defenders was astronomical last season. It was like, a statistical jump up from previous seasons. And it was simply because, is that because players got worse? Absolutely not. Like, if anything, they're getting more accustomed to being in possession. People just got way giddier with pressing. And when you've got all these pressing systems, think about, the shape of a team in possession in an opposition half. Who's the person that's least likely to be marked? It's the two fullbacks or wingbacks. So fullbacks and wingbacks have had an increasingly playmaker-ish sort of impact on the game of football. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we're seeing our wingbacks at the moment taking the ball more. And I don't necessarily think that's a change to last season. When he came in, Dorgu, in January, technically it's February, when was it the last day pretty much? We were seeing increasingly him getting on the ball, mostly in the final third. I think he's getting it maybe a little bit deeper. Again, that could just be his understanding of it. That could just be him losing markers. That could be him maybe having seen game footage towards that last 10, 15 weeks of the season where they were like, okay, here's where you was getting the ball. Here's the opportunities to get the ball. And then his understanding can grow within that. But yeah, I thought he was good. And what I would say with Dorgu is his own execution was better. Just in that one game. But it was. Like, he looked more comfortable in possession.
Yeah. I think it's hard to underestimate, I think, or hard to overstate maybe, how important like confidence and just the amount of weight that must be off the player's shoulders having ended last season. Because I know we had the Europa League, but that almost became sort of like a chain around the neck rather than, this kind of place you can express yourself. Because if you don't get that, you're going to be punished by not having European football. It must have been horrible playing for Man United. And that's on them. They set that up. They can't, they lost those games.
They absolutely had a hand in it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. They certainly played a role in losing those games. But like, there must be such a freedom to playing in Manchester United right now compared to last year when it's all potential. Next season could be anything. And I think that's obviously playing a role in maybe the individual kind of a bit more flair, a little bit more confidence. In terms of sort of wider picture then, do you think that Amorim coming in when he did and obviously lost, I don't know how many games, was it 13, 14 games he lost himself, which is absolutely astonishing. Do you think that he was almost bound to fail? I know that we all knew at the time that it was a bad time to come in, but like when you're trying to instill a new system that, you've spoken to people in the last sort of 48 hours about how much work they're doing off the pitch in terms of fitness, in terms of strength and all that kind of conditioning stuff. He was trying to bring in a system that was more demanding than the last one and doing it when they were already low because they've just been lost the manager. We were already low because we probably weren't going to get Champions League football. Was it just an impossible situation that Amorim had last season?
Yeah, I think people massively, and I've said this for years, and some people still don't get it. I think that's just some people are just mega low intelligence, and they always have to divert to the outliers of things rather than the general is that most managers are don't really impact a team massively. Really good ones can impact you about as much as a good player, and really bad ones can impact you as much as a bad player. But a manager is basically the 12th player. Right. You divide the impact of a player and a manager by 12, and a good one and a bad one basically does a 12th of a performance, in my opinion. But also it's kind of backed up a little bit by data in terms of like good teams who change managers continue to be good teams. Bad teams who change managers continue to be bad teams. And then for the people that are literally trying to type, what about Emery going to Villa? Yeah, Steven Gerrard was a shit manager. Yeah.
That was the swing, the 12th thing swing from a bad one to a really good one.
Yeah.
That ends up being quite substantial, doesn't it?
It can be, yeah. Like you getting a good centre forward or a good goalkeeper or a good centre half or central midfielder, they can have an impact.
Yeah.
But people have this sort of messianic idea that Pep Guardiola could go to Stoke and win the Champions League. Like he's barely winning it with Manchester City. You know what I mean? Like people massively overstate what it's possible for managers to do. If managers could coach their way out of stuff, there wouldn't be a transfer market. Guess what? It's quite a substantial part of the.
And also, guess what? Pep Guardiola is the first manager to spend £2 billion. So obviously he's still one of the best managers in the world, but it does correlate that good teams get good managers and good managers get good teams, but those two things kind of need to go in hand in hand. Do you think Amorim is a good manager? Because we've almost had with that initial spell of can 5 at the back work and talk sport and everyone going, oh, he's got to change back because it's not British and all that stuff. And then there was the spell of this is actually just terrible what we're watching. And now it almost feels like the first time where, again, it's 2 games in. I'm not saying that things have fixed.
Pre-season, by the way.
Pre-season, of course. But it feels as though I can at least see what they're trying to do, and it seems to have some positive effect. Do you think that this can work, this system? Because we've not even been able to have that conversation properly yet because it's just been so bad.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. What he did with Sporting was impressive, and the way he pieced up Manchester City in his last game at Sporting was clearly impressive. In the very, first 6 or 7 weeks, we take points off City, Arsenal, Liverpool. there's obviously positive signs within that. But then we didn't manage to dominate the ball. And actually, one of the I know statistically we didn't dominate the ball against West Ham, but I also think that some of that came once we made all the changes, because you only get the data of the match in the 90 minutes rather than a 60 and a 25 or whatever it was. Yeah. But I thought we held the ball nice. We didn't have like needless possession where we just had possession for possession's sake. It was quite purposeful whenever we had possession, but we also held possession in the opposition half and was moving it around with a purpose. I thought we'd go down the right, wasn't quite working, we'd switch it and bring it down the left, and we would attack. It wasn't what I would call relentless attacking, but it was attacking. It was trying to make something happen all the time. It was perhaps more successful against Bournemouth in doing that. There was a few times where, even though we weren't managing to get shots off and final balls off, I would say like the final third entries was up. I would say that the confidence again took another step up. The flair took another step up. And it looked like people's understanding took another step up. Were Bournemouth bad? Maybe.
Yeah.
Were United good? Maybe. But like I said last night, all we can do is go after performances, and I was very happy with the performance, and actually equally as happy when you got the second string 11, the likes of Ethan Williams, the likes of Cobby, even Cheeto was getting a little bit involved. I still thought it was a good performance once you switch the team. So if the players are able to execute that to the same sort of degree when it matters and we start picking up 3 points, I really think we're going to I think we're really going to surprise people. And I spoke to a couple of people at the game last night, including Wilcox actually, which I was surprised at. But we spoke about, I spoke to him about the importance of pre-season and how people put this enormous emphasis on pre-season. It is important. It's very important. But people put this sort of emphasis on pre-season like you can do all of the work to prepare for a season in these 4 weeks. You have 2 weeks at Carrington and then you have 2 weeks on a tour. These are busy. I don't know how much learning they're getting done. Today is a recovery day. Tomorrow there will be a little bit of prep. Saturday they fly, Sunday they play. How much are you actually advancing the players' progression of the understanding of that game model? Very little. Whereas actually I think when you've only got the 1 game a week and you're at Carrington for the rest of August, I think the understanding probably goes up an even greater level than it has done for the last 2 weeks when we've had the travel and we've had all the rest of that sort of stuff. And I was talking to him about that. I was like, for me, we've still got this opportunity to do a load of learning. And he was like, yeah, we have. And he was saying, obviously we wanted to be in the Champions League. Obviously we wanted to beat Spurs. But the hand that we've been dealt, there's opportunity for us here to make some real progress with just having that 1 game a week.
Yeah, especially with it being a manager that it's not like, some clubs, Brighton or City or whatever, where it's largely unplug and plug. It's a complete
relearning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, brilliant. Right, thank you very much, D. That was very enjoyable. We're back.
Do you like our background?
Yeah, look at that. It says "Welcome to the Jungle" and there's a Pac-Man machine. We were going to have it on in the background.
A foosball table.
But it made too much noise. But we've got all sorts going on down here. We're in Atlanta now, so we'll be coming to you from here.
We've got a pool. Tell us which show you want us to. Should we do the brew?
The brew's at the pool.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Fine.
Right, thank you very much for joining us. This has been a chat about Amorim's tactics. Are they different? Are they better? Or do we just know them better? We'll see in a bit.